Hey guys, I'm Fox with Fox Hill Games, and welcome to part 3 of Becoming a PC Gamer. And in this part, we're actually going to put together a PC. Now, it's going to be a bit of a Frankenstein build because it's a PC that I got from a friend who basically got it free from work, and he gave it free to me. So I think it was like an HP or Dell or something that was pre-built. So the motherboard and a few other things on it are not, the usual things that you'll see when you order them from a website like Newegg, or if you pick them up in Best Buy or whatnot. They're custom builds. The case is a custom build. But I went ahead and decided that for this video I was going to gut that machine, my living room gaming machine, and put it into a new case that I just bought. This is not my main gaming machine. My main gaming machine is running an NVIDIA GTX 660 Ti. This one's going to have an NVIDIA GTX 460, which is still a great card, but I wanted to knock out a few things first before we get to the actual build itself. Alright guys, when it comes to gaming PCs, you have two choices. Build it yourself or pay through the nose for a pre-built machine. If you've got the cash, you could just purchase one straight up, but I don't recommend that, and here's why. You're just paying way too much for it. But that's not the most important thing. The most important reason to build it yourself is because you want to be comfortable with your gaming PC. You don't want to treat it like you do a console. Think about it. A gaming console is basically like a black box. You hook it up, you load up a game, and it plays. You have little to no idea what's inside or what's going on in there underneath that plastic exterior. Gaming PCs are meant to be different. You can know exactly what you have and what each part does. This will allow you to become better at troubleshooting problems as well as making future upgrades. Think about it. Imagine it's been 3 years since you last built your gaming rig. You've got a little extra money on your hands and you're playing the latest and greatest games, and suddenly you want to buy a nicer graphics card to get a little bit of a better visual experience. Wouldn't it be nice if you just felt comfortable and confident enough to go online, find a new card, order it, and install it when it arrives? That's something you cannot do with the consoles. You're stuck with the consoles as they are. Now, with the PC, you can go back and play a game like The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion and max out all those settings and download high-resolution HD textures and all this other stuff. But with the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions, it's the same game it was. All the frame rate slowdown is still there, the limited view distance, all that stuff. Nothing changes. Time does not change those games. And again, let's knock out a myth. You don't need to upgrade your graphics card every 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or anything like that. This is just an example. That's my approximate time frame. I like to upgrade about every 3 years. Depends on how much money I've got sitting around in the bank. So guys, let's get right down to it. What makes up a gaming PC? Basically, a gaming PC is just a PC like any other, except you bought your hardware with an eye to gaming. The most definitive component of a gaming PC is the graphics card. These cards are narrowly and specifically designed for 3D gaming applications. Some can be used for other purposes like 3D art design or scientific applications, but it's built for gaming. The other components of your machine are all going to be similar to what goes into any other PC with very few differences, like your motherboard, your CPU, your RAM, your hard drive, your power supply, and your case. Well guys, I got my case. I'm going to gut my other machine. Let's get right down to it. Let's build a PC. This is going to be guerrilla style. This is going to be hands-on, off the cuff, not scripted, never tried this before, haven't even, done any preliminary work with it. I'm just going to have little things come up throughout the video and you're going to get to see it. This is what it's really like when I really build my own PC. It's happening for real. A Raid Max Super Hurricane. Upgrade to high-speed USB 3.0 and a bottom-mounted PSU. Okay, well anyway, don't worry about all the specifics, guys. But basically, I picked up the Raid Max Super Hurricane. I've used Raid Max before. I have pretty good experiences with them overall. I got black because, you know what? I'm just a fan of black. I like black consoles, I like black coffee, and I like black computer cases. What can I say? I went black, and I never went back. I'm talking about computer cases, guys. And you will notice that soon the dreaded cat will appear in the frame, as he always does, and interrupts my videos. And we're just going to keep rolling. Alright, so that's the Raid Max box. Not as exciting as the Raid Max itself. Now, in order to make sure that this is the PC that we want to use, we're going to make sure that the cat sniffs it and he approves. Great. So this is the Raid Max, and it's a Super Hurricane, which just means that there's more airflow for it. I really should get more fans because it looks like it only has 2 fans. A fan right here in the back and a fan down there mounted with the PSU. And as always, the PSU includes a fan, as it should. Now, in order to get everything installed, you of course have to open it up, and I'm trying to make sure everything's in the frame here. This is just, let me do this. I'm going to move the camera for just a second, and boom, booyah, there we go. And we're removing these thumb screws right here, okay? Now, sometimes the factory will tighten these thumb screws so much that you will have to use a tool. In this case, it's a Phillips head screwdriver. So you can just use the tool to get them off if they're a little too tight. And then go ahead and take that computer case, make sure the camera is always on it properly, and slide it off. Just like that. I could have done that more gracefully, but you know, I'm trying to make sure it's all in the frame. So the computer, the side of the computer case, you can just set off to the side. I love this feature though, how it's got all that mesh right there, so there's lots of nice airflow, and you can mount all sorts of different size fans to that. In fact, I just put a 200mm fan in my main gaming PC in my computer room, which may end up becoming one of the children's rooms when we finally do have kids, my wife and I. Oh, look at that. So it does have more than 2 fans. So again, back fan right there. It's got the PSU fan, and then we've got an internal fan right there. See it right there where my thumb is? So this is the inside of a computer case when it's pretty much empty. The only catch is there's actually a few additional cables and whatnot that are attached to it with twist ties and all that stuff. These are just extra cables that come with it. This case, oh actually these are, no, these are not extra cables. I was mistaken. These are attachments for the front, what we call I/O, input output, so like the USB 3.0, USB 2.0 headphone and microphone jack. I may have reversed those. Additionally, the power reset button. One of the hardest things about hooking up a computer is going to be making sure that you get all these little doohickeys hooked up correctly, otherwise it won't start, but that's not a big deal. You're probably not going to fry your computer, and then it comes with all these little things, which for noobs, for people new to that, it's going to confuse them. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, what is all that crap? But don't worry about it. There's instructions in the manual. And then, of course, this right here is your PC speaker. That right there is what makes those beeps and bloops and all that stuff, like boop, when your computer starts up. All right, additionally, it does come with a power cord to hook up to the PSU. And, of course, they always should. Now, this case itself doesn't come with any additional cables of any sort. Your motherboard is going to come with those, so don't worry about that. So if you need extra SATA cables to hook up hard drives, if you need converters for your graphics card, those kind of things should come with your graphics card and your motherboard. And these are my hands with 2 thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Now, again, you're going to want to basically on-twist tie everything. Now, if you're concerned about super awesome cable management, number one, what are you doing on this video? This video is basically for people who have no idea what they're doing or just want to watch me talk about building a PC. If you are in any way a PC builder yourself, if you've already even built one, you're probably not going to get a lot of use out of this unless you built it like 10 years ago and have totally forgotten how to do it and are not up to speed on some of the new things. Basically, if you built PCs way in the past and now you're back, well, it's easier than ever. For the most part, you never have to worry about jumpers or setting master-slave settings on your hard drives and all that stuff. Everything, almost everything, is plug and play. Notice the wedding ring, guys. Stop sending me requests for a date. All right, so picking back up, I just wanted to remind you guys, please don't send me requests for dates. And the reason why, you'll notice that you could take off this side of the PC case. You're probably wondering, well, wait a minute, if you can install everything on this end, what's this for? Well, basically this is if you want to have a nice cable management. Basically, you take this off and you can route your cables behind it. I'm not really going to worry about cable management because I don't want to make that an issue because I want to keep this as simple as possible. Be aware, though, that good cable management will provide a lot more in terms of airflow, and it'll look better as well. But because all we've got is that little mesh opening, I'm really not worried about cable management. I mean, people really aren't going to see this. And the way I have it set up in my living room as my living room gaming/media PC, you can't see the sides at all. I mean, you just cannot see the sides. So it really doesn't matter, and it never gets too hot, especially in a case like this where the airflow is going to be fine. And if it really got that hot, I've got other fans to install in it. So again, we're still just kind of undoing these little twist ties and whatnot. And one thing to keep in mind is that if you have a little extra money, I would recommend going ahead and picking up a modular PSU, which is what I have in my computer. What it means is that all these cables right here, these power cords basically, so now we've got everything sort of unhooked here. These again are our front I/O ports that we're going to hook up to the motherboard. These right here, this big one always hooks up to the motherboard. That's electricity and power for the motherboard. These right here will hook up to your SATA devices, which are almost always hard drives and optical drives. These will hook up to some older devices, such as IDE hard drives and all that, although we don't have that kind of connection. I don't think we do on our motherboard. I have to actually open up my living room PC and pull those parts out. I haven't done that yet. And these right here, these are going to go on your graphics card. So fortunately we have the ones that we need for graphics card, and this of course is fan. These smaller ones power fans or hook up to other stuff. So basically these are just power cables that hook up to various different devices inside your computer. This one right here is a fan power connector, so we can actually plug that into the motherboard itself and it'll give us power from the motherboard hookup right there. Alright guys, well the next step is to start putting stuff in there. Let's get to it. Alright guys, and if you give a hoot for unsweet iced tea, raise your glass, bottoms up. Unsweet iced tea in an owl glass. Good stuff right there. No fat, no calories, no sugar, nothing. None of that fake sugar garbage either. That's some good stuff. Give a hoot for unsweet tea. Alright guys, well I disassembled the computer I had in the living room. It was basically an old Dell computer that somebody gave me for free. They found it at work and no one wanted it, and it was actually a pretty good setup. I had to go online to look up the motherboard manual because you really do want the manual. Specifically, you want the manual so that you know how to hook up to the front panel I/O, which I somehow just lost track of. Oh, there it is. The front panel I/O is very important, how you hook that up. You have to hook up the reset, the power button, and a couple other things in a specific manner. Your motherboard manual will tell you how, and it will have labels on it. So the not the jumpers, but the little cables you hook up to it, they will have labels, and then it will label the front panel I/O pins on how you're supposed to connect that. For the most part, you can't really mess it up too bad. If it doesn't turn on, you know you didn't hook it up. You know you didn't hook it up properly. Now, in terms of the CPU and the RAM are already installed, and let me show you real quick how to install RAM. It's just ridiculously easy. Basically, you'll look at the RAM module. It'll have a notch in it that will tell you where it goes in terms of the motherboard, because that notch will only fit one way. You can't flip it the other way. So you take that, and let's go ahead and just zoom in a little bit here. Some guerrilla style video will work. And basically, you line up the notch in there to make sure that the notch is right where that little piece of plastic is in there. Slide it in, push down on both sides so it sits in there firmly, and then snap these two little plastic pieces onto the sides, and then you know they're well seated. Now these are color coded. You'll notice that some of those are blue and some are black. The plastic, and I see how that's blue right there. See how the base of it is black and plastic. That's just telling you that you want to set your RAM in there a certain way. Your motherboard will tell you how to do that. If you only have two modules, then you're either going to do both blue or black and the blue. It depends on the motherboard. It really is just up to how they set that up and how that color coding works. But you do want to make sure that your RAM modules are in the right spots, because you can't just stick two RAM modules in any of the four, or otherwise they won't maybe work properly or work up to their full speed. Now also the CPU as well as the fan for the CPU and the heatsink are all pre-installed on this motherboard. It didn't come that way from the manufacturer, it came that way because it was built. So when you get your motherboard, you're going to find that the heatsink and the CPU and the fan for it, if there is one, are all separate. The reason I'm not going to cover how to install that is it's different. It's different whether you get AMD, it's different depending on what kind of AMD, whether you get Intel and what kind of Intel CPU that you get. So that will come with a manual, and you just follow the manual instructions. It is pretty simple. Just make sure you have a nice sturdy surface. This surface isn't the best because it bends, and if you're pushing hard to get that CPU in there and it bends, you could possibly damage the motherboard. Most likely you won't, but make sure you're a nice sturdy surface, something that does not produce static electricity. Don't use your carpet, and also don't put it on a metal surface where it could scratch up and possibly get static electricity. Make sure, of course, you don't have static electricity yourself by touching something metal, like, I don't know, a sword. There you go. And in addition to all that, let's move the camera over. We've got the motherboard with the RAM, CPU, heatsink for it, and the fan already set up right there. RAM is dead set easy. I mean, if you can't install RAM, you should give up right now. And I'm just kidding, you'll figure it out. The hard drive, really easy. Alright, for the graphics card, I have my previous graphics card, which I used to use before I bought my new NVIDIA GTX 660 Ti. I was using a Zotac brand GeForce GTX 460, and this is kind of one of the off brands. Basically, NVIDIA makes the chipset, and then there are a bunch of other companies that make specific cards, and they put unique cases around them and different cooling options. Like you can see, there's a pipeline in there for heat, and there's some heat sinks and just one fan. Some will have like dual, triple fans, and you want them kind of open in the back. That's a good idea for the most part. But the most important thing when choosing which manufacturer that's making your chipset, once you've settled on a chipset, like let's say you decide, I want the NVIDIA GTX 660 Ti, which is what I have in my gaming PC, that's not this one, then you want to make sure you pick one that has the I/O ports that you're looking for, or actually these are all output. This has 2 DVI, one, what do they even call that? Display port, which I've never used, and an HDMI. So if you need 2 HDMI, because you're going like to 2 different HD TVs that don't have this, then you want one with 2 HDMI. Or you just use a converter for the DVI to HDMI, though that will not produce sound. So be careful about that. Display port, be careful, not a lot of devices yet have display port on them, especially HD TVs. So if you're hooking your computer up to an HD TV, you need HDMI. If you're hooking it up to monitors, pretty much every monitor will have DVI, and nowadays HDMI as well. This can output easily to 2 monitors. I've never gone beyond 2, maybe it could do 4, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to obviously hook up every kind back there. But I use a dual monitor setup on my gaming PC, and this one is going to be a single monitor setup. So that's what I'm using for graphics card. In terms of optical drive, I went ahead and opted with a LG Blu-ray drive because this is in my living room, so I want to go ahead and make sure that I can watch Blu-rays in the living room. But my wife and I own like 3 Blu-rays, and that's pretty much it. We get everything on the internets. Also, I pulled off the I/O shield from the other computer because it's the I/O shield that I need for my motherboard. This will come with your motherboard. You put that in the back of the case, I'll show you later. These are the screws that I got off the motherboard, the screwdrivers I'm using. These are SATA cables. These will be used to hook up both the hard drive and the optical drive, whether you choose DVD or Blu-ray. You can of course put in more hard drives. I do actually recommend having 2 hard drives, one for your operating system and one for your games. That way if you ever have to reinstall your operating system, all your Steam games will be there. You just have to run a verification check and boom, they're all there. You don't have to re-download and reinstall them all because your original hard drive crapped out. Alright guys, let's get started putting these pieces in my computer case. Alright guys, first things first, we want to put the I/O shield in the case so that the motherboard's input outputs will go directly into that. To figure out which way to put it in, it's almost always the same. The audio stuff is going to be at the bottom. If there are PS2 mice connectors, those are going to be at the top. And basically you just line it up with what you see on your motherboard. So yeah, that's how it will go on there. And additionally, you know that the motherboard's going to go in this way with this at the top because that's where the I/O ports are. So the motherboard's going to have to go in that way. The I/O shield's going to go this way. So that's how we're going to install it. So take your I/O shield and it basically snaps into place. I hope it's not too bright in here. I got the sun coming in nice and bright. But you get it in there on the side, and I know you can't see that very well, but it is what it is. And line it up. It's not too difficult. This one may be a little different because it was designed for a different kind of case, but it should still fit because motherboards are basically all standardized. I just got to get this top part to snap into place there. Alright, so you see that we have the I/O port shield set up in place. It just took a little more elbow grease. I had to just push on the edges until it snapped in. But there it is, it's all snapped into place, and the motherboard I/O ports will kind of fit into those grooves, those holes there. You can see the silhouettes for everything, and they're labeled. So that's how you know you're putting the motherboard in the right way. If the I/O ports are not lining up with that, you're putting it in the wrong way. Alright guys, also notice that I have all of these cords kind of dangling off the side there. I've got them all out of the way so I can get access to the inside of the computer there, and they're not blocking my way. Now, you really do want at least a mid-sized ATX case or larger. If you got one that's a small case, or if it's a special form factor or cube size, anything like that, it could end up where you have to install things in a specific order, otherwise they won't fit. Like you might not even be able to fit your hard drive in if you put a graphics card in first, or vice versa, or anything of that sort. So make sure you've got plenty of room to work with, and if it looks like you can't install something, if you install something else first, then install that thing before it. Alright guys, next up I'm going to go ahead and install both the hard drive and the optical drive. I'm going to set that there. The screws that this case will use actually come with the case, of course. And they look like this because they're going to go in there and sit inside of these rubber grommets that are designed to reduce sound so that your computer doesn't make so much noise. There's a set on the bottom here on the other side as well. The way you get to those to screw them in is you don't have to try to get up under there. That's impossible. You take the back panel off, the same way we took the front panel off, flip it over and screw them in the same way. You of course make sure that your I/O ports are facing the motherboard, because if you put it in this way to where the ports are going that way, you're not going to be able to hook it up. So there's only one way to put that in, that's the right way. This feels a little weird to me. I've never had these rubber grommets before, but it should slide in without too much effort. And of course I got it in easily the last 6 times I tried this as practice, and the one time I tried to show you on the video, yeah, there we go. I just had it a little off kilter. set the screw first, and make sure you hit the camera while you're doing that so that it messes up the video. I know it's hard for you to see, but I mean, you're just screwing in a screw. I mean, that's not complicated. If you've never screwed a screw before, well, this is your chance to screw in a screw. Now this one actually I'm noticing is a little different from that one, and I'm wondering if that's a different screw there. We shall see. I'm going to try to use the same screw with that one, even though it looks a little bit different. Well, it appears to be going in. It might be the wrong one, but you know what? Oh well. As long as you're securing it to it, now we just need to secure the other side as well. So we're going to flip it over and take that back panel off. I might as well go ahead and show it to you. Now in this case, I'm going to move all the cords inside because I don't want to crush them by having the outside of the case sit on them. Although really it's probably not going to crush them. Take off the thumb screws right down here in the corner of the screen. There's another thumb screw right there. You get to see my wonderful, beautiful arm as I take off this thumb screw. And again, if it's too tight, if you can't get it off with your thumbs, just use whatever screwdriver will fit on the end of that and loosen it up. Sometimes the factory over tightens it. There we go. Back panel is off. And it's always a good idea to leave both panels off while you're working with it. That way you don't have to worry about anything. So again, it's on the other side. We can take these cords and just sort of scooch them out of the way a little bit. They bend pretty well. I mean, don't sit there and twist and bend them and try to break them, but as long as you're not trying to break them, you shouldn't be able to do any real significant damage. And here we go with our second rubber grommet screw. Now this should make sure that your hard drive is well seated and secure in there and it's not coming out. If you buy a nice enough case, you'll actually slide your hard drive or optical drive in, and there'll be like a button you can push that'll snap it into effect without having any sort of tool work or screws to work with. That's how my main computer is. It's mostly toolless. It's not entirely toolless. You will have to screw in the motherboard and CPU and all that. But some of them are toolless setups. Just follow your follow your case's manual. It's really important to read the manual, guys, because cases are different, motherboards are different, processors are different. But that's a basic screw setup for a hard drive. Boom. Alright, well, your optical drive basically goes in the same way. Again, the I/O port should be facing the motherboard, don't put it in that way, you're going to screw yourself over. And if you notice in this case, if I can twist it for you, if you see in there, they've already opened up that top place. Now if you want to install additional I/O ports, you actually break these metal parts off. You'll see what I mean. It's a front little metal cover with grooves and holes in it. You just take that and you twist it back and forth and it'll snap right off. Then you can put additional optical drives or whatever else you want in there. Some people put little light up thingies that show their CPU temperatures and fan RPMs and all that cool stuff. I don't, so that's just me though. Slide into the top one. You always want your optical drive in the top one. That way, whoops, beating the heck out of this thing. And you want to make sure that you're putting it in correct. Uh-oh. Why did not want to go in there? You know what? I wonder if it slides in from the front. So here's how you reach your hand through and you just pop this out, and that's that plastic piece from the front is popped out. And now as you can see, there's an opening in the front for the optical drive. And let's move the camera up just a bit so you can see that I'm actually sliding it through so that it's the right way up and down. And slide that in right into place, and then we just screw it in to secure it. And there's two screws. You can see them if you look very carefully. Right there, just line those screws up with the edge right there and make sure that the front is flush to the case and it looks good, and you're good to go. I don't think you guys need to see me screwing in more screws. They're just screws that you screw in with a screwdriver. Alright guys, I flipped it over and I screwed it back in on the other side there. So you can see that these screws look slightly different than the ones I used for the hard drive. Just follow the manual, and if you're trying to screw something in and it's not really screwing in, it's probably because you're using the wrong type of screw or you don't have it at the right angle. Also guys, as you can see in the bright sunlight here, you will have tons of screws, brackets, and other little thingies extra left over even when you're completely done. Like these are for cable management. Do not worry about this. You're not going to use all the screws. This is not like assembling a desk where it comes with exactly enough stuff. This has lots of extra stuff that you probably won't need, so don't worry about it. Alright, so this is what it looks like. You can see that the optical drive is installed. It's flush with the case, perfectly where it should be. If it's not flush, that means you used the wrong screw hole in terms of on the inside there. You just need to undo the screws, push it in all the way till it stays right nice and flush, and then use the screws that line up right where that's at. You can't see the hard drive, it's actually down here. It's hidden back in here. There's no reason to show the hard drive through, but obviously the optical drive we need to access. And this right here, this is another spot where you can install something else if you need it, but we're not going to put anything there today. Alright guys, again, forgive me for using all that makeshift sunlight and bright angles and dark angles. It's just how it works. I'm not going to buy expensive lighting for this. But it's time for the big kahuna. It's time to take that motherboard and line it up. Now you'll notice in here these little like gold kind of plated, or they look gold plated, at least they're not, brass kind of colored brackets in there. You're going to set the motherboard so that each of these screw holes here line up with one of these. Now if you're putting it in there and these aren't already in here, screw them in into the appropriate slots. Usually they're all labeled, but if you don't know where to put them, just put the motherboard in there where it's supposed to be, line them up, and you'll see that in most cases it'll have it all if it's like a standard ATX motherboard. If it doesn't, in my case it might not. I have to install additional brackets in there. And I mean, if you really wanted to, you can install them in all of them, but just be careful you don't want it tapping or touching anything metallic and messing up the power flow. It probably wouldn't. But just make sure you follow the manual and that all the brackets are lined up. That's what I'm going to do right now. Alright guys, I had to put in 2 additional brackets because this is not a standardized, ATX size motherboard. It's more of a square shape than the rectangle that most motherboards come as. This is a motherboard that came with the computer that I got that was pre-built from Dell. Basically, I didn't buy that again, guys. I don't ever buy pre-built machines. It was given to me for free, but I put one down in here and I put one down over here. I basically counted all of them and made sure that I said 1, 2, 3 on the top, 1, 2, 3 horizontally along the mid area there. And there's one here just slightly offset from that one. I made sure that they all lined up. And now you go ahead and slide the motherboard in, and you want to make sure the I/O ports all line up. That's where you're going to make sure you're doing it properly. So I hope you guys can see. I'm going to go ahead and turn this LCD viewfinder and make sure that I'm lining up my I/O ports. And I'm grabbing it from the fan and a CPU heatsink, which you really shouldn't do, but I did. You know why, guys? Because I can, and that's what I did. So we've got that pretty well lined up. It might be a little tight pushing against that. Don't worry, you'll get the screws in. Ooh, did I forget one bracket? I did. Look at that. I forgot one bracket. So I gotta go ahead and put in another bracket, and I'm glad that I actually did that, because now you guys get to see me put the bracket in. Wonder if I can get the bracket in without moving the motherboard. No, that's dangerous. So let's take the motherboard out, put that bracket in. I usually just screw them by hand, because when you put the screw in it, you're also going to turn it to the right, which is the same direction as the bracket anyway. You really shouldn't do that, because brackets will come out with it. It's kind of a lazy way to do it. You can tighten the brackets by tool if you'd like. I like to get nice and lazy and just do it the way I want to do it. So I gotta make sure this gets in there. You know what? I just put that in the wrong way. Look at that, guys. Wow, not paying attention at all. So, as you can tell, I've done a lot of this before. I'm really not so worried about breaking or damaging anything. I'm just winging it, doing whatever works for me. Not too worried about it. Now, make sure you get the proper screws for it and screw a screw into each one of those bracket holes. Alright guys, this is the bane of anyone's existence. These tiny screws that you got to get in there and line up perfectly while there's tension actually from the I/O plate over there as well. So we're going to try to see if we can line one of these up. And that always happens. You could use a magnetic tip, but you got to be careful with those on motherboards. So let's see if we can get one in. I know you can't see much from that angle. I'll have to use my left hand. But I basically just screwed it right into there, and there we go. Now they're not all going to perfectly line up at first. That's fine, but once you start getting screws in, they should be lining up. If you're noticing any brackets don't line up, it's probably because you have something in wrong somewhere, or you got it off kilter slightly, or it's not all the way snugly put into the I/O shield right back here. Alright, so you just keep going with those, keep screwing them in, make sure you screw in to all the holes that attach to the brackets on the back of the case. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, well, here's where we're at. We've got the power supply, which usually comes in the case unless you buy it separately. Let's get those cords out of the way. We got the motherboard installed. We got the fans already set up there, but we do need to plug them in, of course. We've got the hard drive right underneath that bit of metal and the optical drive set up there. The RAM we already put into the motherboard, and the CPU, the heat sink, and the fan for all that stuff is hooked up right there. You follow the instructions for that. we're almost done. All we've got left at this point is to hook up the graphics card and plug everything else in. Now before I plug everything else in, I might go ahead and put the graphics card in first. I'm going to look and see if the graphics card will block my access to anything, and that's what you want to check, because the graphics card is huge and you don't want to be trying to get your little fingers and stuff underneath that thing because it's very difficult. Alright guys, well I'm going to hook up my first SATA cable, or SATA, however you want to pronounce it. They look like this. They can be right angle or straight on. Either one's fine. Right angle is convenient in certain circumstances and straight on is convenient in others. Some of them have that little hook thingy right there where you have to push down to pull it out. Just be aware of that in case you're trying to pull one out and can't get it out. Alright, we hooked that just right onto the side of the hard drive. There's only one spot where it will fit in the hard drive and the optical drive. It's really not hard to figure it out, guys. And we're going to go ahead and hook this up to the blue one because that's what it was hooked up to last time. And we're good to go. Now this is the other one that was originally in there. If you notice, it's, well, will it reach? Will it reach? No, that's just going to be a little too tight. So I'm going to get another one. Your motherboard will come with extras of these. Alright guys, I'm really glad that one actually didn't fit because I can show you, here's a right angle SATA connector. And usually you use the right angle to plug into the back of the device that's hooking up to the motherboard. So I'm going to plug it in right here. Booyah! And then we take the other end of the SATA cable. It doesn't matter which end goes where. They're both basically the exact same, and hook it up right in here. And they're labeled as SATA 1, 2, 3, and 4. Usually you do SATA 1 as your optical drive, the first one to boot up, and your SATA 2 is a hard drive. Really doesn't matter nowadays because with computer BIOSes the way they are, they'll take care of everything just fine. And I'm pushing that SATA cable out of the way so it's not chilling right there. Doesn't really matter, but I want it out of the way while we hook everything else up. So, here we go guys. It's time for the power. Alright, hooking up the power. This is basically what hooks up to your hard drive, your optical drive, and a few other devices. It only goes in one way. There's a little notch. You just follow that notch. This one actually, for some reason, takes a little bit more elbow grease than I'm used to. So I had to kind of put a little effort. Oh, see, look what I did. I'm glad I wanted to show you guys this. I did it on purpose, actually. This one right here won't reach up to there. Now, do I have another one? I don't. So we want to unhook that one and hook this one up to here. Now, oh, look at that. See, they kind of piggyback off of each other. So you could hook one into the optical drive and one into something lower if it were to fit. Make sure you know where the notch is. Make sure the notch is lining up with the notch in the device. And these, I don't know why, but these require a lot more elbow grease than what I'm used to. It's unusual. Anyway, this one will go into the hard drive. And we only need the 2, so we're good to go. It actually has 3. Oh man, that takes a little more effort than I'm used to. Wonder why. Anyway, those 2 things are hooked up. So hard drive and optical drive now are both hooked up and they're ready to roll. So as soon as this thing properly powers on, both of them will be accessible. There's more stuff to hook up though, so stay tuned. Alright guys, now it's time for the least fun one. I'll kind of focus in right there to that front panel. It's partially blocked by cables, but basically these cords right here are your front panel cords. They feel and look differently than all the other cords. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Is it going to focus? No focus. There we go. And they're labeled, of course. So this one right here says HDD LED. That's the hard drive light. This one here says reset switch. And this one says power LED plus, power LED negative. Basically hook those up according to your manual. It really depends on the motherboard. So read your manual, read it carefully, look at the diagram, and you'll be all good to go. If you have trouble, look up a thing online and listen to my dog bark in the background. Alright, I thought I'd show you guys me actually doing some of this. I wish these cords weren't so much in the way, but let me see if I can come over here at a better angle. Yeah, there you go, the front panel I/O. So reset switch, I'm reading from the manual, is these 2 little pins. There's one pin at the top that has nothing, and there's another blank spot where there's no pin at all. Alright. Now the HD LED is at the bottom on that same side with the negative on the top. That's not HD LED. Where are you at? There it is. Okay, plus and minus, so negative on top. It's going to go in this way. This is the most complicated part of the whole thing, guys. Whoops, wrong pins. Add to these pins right here. Those 2 bottom pins, nope, still not getting it. There we go. Depth perception fail. Alright guys, we're going to keep going here. Let's see what the power switch situation is. Power switch is labeled as on off, but it's really the power switch. And this right here is the power LED. They're different things. The power switch and power LED are different things. So we're going to hook this up right here, and the last one is the hardest one to get on sometimes because there's so little room to work, but we have to make sure we got the negative and the positive set up correctly. Power LED, negative is on top, so it's good that they're consistent at least. And these are split into two unlike the others. I don't know why they do that, but they do. Power LED plus and power LED negative. So here we go. Negative is that top one. Once you got it angled, you can angle it, then straighten it out and push it straight down. Good to go. And the last one on that last little tiny pin there. There we go. Now some motherboards will actually have a little, not case, but a little plastic piece where you put it into that and then put it straight on there and it's all set and ready to roll. Now those cords you can just kind of move out of the way. I like to shove them underneath the hard drive enclosure space there so that they're not blocking us. And final thing to do is to end up putting power to everything else. Fan, let's pull that camera out. So, sorry that this is such a guerrilla style, guys, but I'm just not going to put in the effort to make it an amazing, fantastic video like I could. So this right here is fan. If you look on this, you should see some that are labeled as fan power, and it might not be on here just because, oh, there it is. There it is. So the CPU fan is already connected. That's a fan connector. It looks like right there. Can we get that in there, though? It does not look like it, does it? So this might not have a motherboard fan pin set. Let me move some stuff out of the way so I can get down in here. In this case, this fan is very convenient in that it gave us this. And what this can do for you guys is basically you take one of these power connectors. Where's it at? Right there. Take one of these power connectors, push it in there. Whoops, make sure it's lined up properly. And there you go, you're good to go. The fan has power even though there's no specific pins for the fan on the motherboard. Set that off to the side. Now, in this case, I actually probably want this over the graphics card, so I'll set it right there for now. Hopefully it stays, but we could hook that up after we put the graphics card in if it really became an issue. Alright, so let's hook up another piece of the power situation, and that's going to be the motherboard. Where's that motherboard connector? Right there. It should be easy to spot because there's just going to be a ton of slots. Alright guys, we're good to go. I just had to bump it down a bit, and then this second connector here goes on the end right over here. It's a little tight the way it is, so I'm going to pull that cord just a little bit more through so I've got some more space, and then we're going to hook it up this way on the edge so that it fills up all those open slots. If it'll go down all the way. There we go. Well, no we don't. Let's see if it'll go this way. It's got these little knobs on the end that look like they're bumping up against the rest of it. I know they're supposed to help it stay like linked together or something. In my case, it's just causing me trouble. Nope, we're going that way. And that way. I wish it were going backwards so we wouldn't have to worry about that. But don't worry guys, occasionally you will have some issues with stuff not going in quite the way you want it to. In that case, I'm going to take this back out by pinching down on that. Put this on from the bottom. Looks like it needs to come on from the bottom instead of going on from the top. Maybe. Or there we go. Connect it all together. And then it goes in no problem. So there you go. Glad I'm running these little snags because you guys might run into them as well. Great that you guys see how I solved that. Once you get used to it, you're not going to worry about it. You're not going to freak out because the slightest little thing's not working exactly according to plan right away. And again, it's just connecting stuff to stuff. This is really no different, in my opinion, than hooking up an HDMI from your Xbox 360 to your TV. I mean, really, you're just plugging stuff in. It's not that complicated. This, on the other hand, I would love to know where this thing goes. And this is where it's helpful to read the manual. I don't know if we have a spot for this at the moment, so what I'm going to do is just fold that up and put it right over here. That's a USB 3.0, and you know what? This motherboard does not have USB 3.0, so we're not going to worry about that. That's a USB 3.0 motherboard header, and we don't have that because it's just not that kind of motherboard, unfortunately. So we can't use that. I'm not going to worry about that for now. But we are going to worry about these two things, HD audio and USB. If you don't hook these up, the front panel thingies won't work. So you look, you read for these, this says 1394, that's FireWire. That's just something I've memorized. That says FUSB 2. I don't know what F stands for, you can take a wild guess. So let's put in USB 1. And you'll notice there's one slot that's filled in where you can't fit a pin in it. and that tells you exactly how to hook it up. There's only one way to hook that up. HD audio, you should find one that says F audio. There it is. It's usually a different color from the USB ones. USB 3.0 is usually blue. Audio is oftentimes yellow or some other color like that. Firewire is generally red for fire. And we've got most of our connections hooked up. Just look through it. Not everything is going to be hooked up because not everything needs to be. Like, for example, these extra power cables, we have nothing to plug them into right now. But these two right here, as well as a third one, those are going to get plugged into our graphics card. So let's get ready to do it with the graphics card. Yeah, that's what I said. Do it with the graphics card. Alright, so here's the graphics card. First things first, set that off to the side. What we need to do is find the spot where the graphics card I/O is going to come through. And see these little metal pieces here? You just twist them a little bit and break them right off. Just be careful that they don't snag on anything on the motherboard. You don't want to break something off the motherboard. But twist them back and forth and break them off. Don't worry about it. You can break them all off if you want. You can break off just the ones you need. I'm going to break off a bunch more because I'm probably going to hook something else up to it. Just be careful when you're bending it that it's not cutting into the motherboard itself. I like to bend the bottom up a bit. That way I know it's not going to hit the motherboard. I don't want to be scratching up my motherboard. Here's another one. Bend that up so it doesn't touch the motherboard. Broke that one off. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to leave the last three on there so you can see if I kind of turn it sideways that there's now open in the back with those bottom three still attached. And here's what they look like when they're broken off. Just toss them. There's absolutely no need for them. You can't even put them back on. Graphics card. Oh, yeah. Oh, graphics power. Well, this is kind of an older one, GTX 460, but I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of money on something new when I don't have to. Oh, shoot. Almost pulled that up. So, let's move this out of the way. This can go over the graphics card for all I care. Doesn't bother me. Make sure you're not pulling any connections out. You can secure those connections. Graphics card is going to bump up against some stuff as you put it in. Just be careful not to bump up too hard. Make sure it lines up in there. And push it in. I'm going to come around this other side here. Make sure I've got everything at the right angles. Oops, there we go. Looks good, but it looks like I'm caught up on something over here. Graphics card is one of the harder ones to get in because it does have a large profile to it. Fit it into the back. There we go. And push it down so that it's nice and flush with the back. See that? While I bump the camera, it's nice and flush right there. Then additionally, there's a screw hole. This is known as a, what do they call it? Dual slot graphics card, and that it takes up 2 slots. So you want to put 2 screws in there to secure it. And those screws do come with your motherboard and or your graphics card. In this case, the 2 screws will look like this. I'll go ahead and install those now. And this is the part where it's really easy to accidentally drop them. So one secret I have is I just drop them all the time like that behind the PSU, and then I have to twist and turn it. Alright, let's try that again. This is at an awkward angle too, so it's going to be kind of tough to get the screw in there. I don't know really a good way to do that. I'll probably have to get a different screwdriver. Let me do that and I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. I got a longer screwdriver so the head of it isn't bumping up against the side. It'll be a little easier to install. I'm going to move the camera as well. I want you guys to see this process kind of naturally because this is the process you're going to go through. When you see a lot of computer builds online, they do it a little more professionally. They do a lot of jump cuts, a lot of cutting away, and in the process you don't really see what happens. Now all I cut away is screwing in all the different kinds of screws like on the motherboard and whatnot, because that's just repeating the same thing you already saw. That's one. Let's put in the other one. You can always touch some metal like one of the panels of the case that you've taken off to make sure you don't have any static electricity discharge. Let's screw that one in. Is that good? Wiggle it a bit. It shouldn't really budge much. I mean, this end will wiggle, but this end should feel solid. Good to go. I like that nice solid feeling in my hands. Don't go too far with that, guys. Alright, so let's pull out and see what our computer looks like so far. See? You've literally seen just about every step of the process. All I've really skipped on video is additional screws that only took time. I mean, once you know how to put one screw in, you know how to put them all in. It's not that tough. Next step is to hook up the power to the graphics card. Let me move our camera over so you can see how this works. And zoom in a bit. Oh yeah, zoom. No digital zoom here. Digital zoom sucks. And let's get some lighting on that, shall we, guys? Let's see, does that help? Yeah, that helps quite a bit. Let's get some more lighting in there. Good, good, good. You can see this right here. This is where we're going to connect. Now, here's what you might bump into. Let me see if I can get around on this side to see what I'm doing here. Make sure I can see the viewfinder, which is now upside down to me. Once you plug this in, you may notice that it doesn't quite fit and you don't have enough of the connectors. So what should we do? Well, there is one thing that you can do here, and hopefully I managed to get this done. Let's see. I'm going to disconnect these two, and I'm going to hook that one up. See if I can hook this one up somewhere. Can I? Are you going to let me? Or are you not going to let me? You're not going to let me, are you? You're not. Be right back with you. Well, guys, I basically had to use some adapters because it didn't have all the proper cable connections it should have, which really surprised me considering it's a Raid Max, but I'll show you what it does. It's basically one of these, and you connect two of these to it. So you just convert these things over into your graphics card power connectors, and you're good to go. Now, hopefully this works because I've actually got this kind of daisy-chained a little bit, and it's not really what I'd recommend. But we'll see if that works. If it really doesn't, I've got another power supply that I can use. But for the most part, as long as you're buying computer parts and you're getting it with, you know, a graphics card, if it's like a Newegg bundle, anything of that sort, the power supply should always come with the proper connectors by default. I'm surprised that one didn't. But again, I've got another power supply that's got what it needs. I just don't want to have to take this out if I don't have to. But if I do, I do. So we've got the graphics card hooked up. CPU and all that's got power to the CPU fan. That's really important, otherwise you could burn the CPU out. Usually it'll just shut down before it burns out. Fans connected, optical drive, hard drive, graphics card, all the connections are there. Hopefully all the power is there. We'll find out the hard way. All the connectors to the front I/O panels. We got the USB connector, the audio for the front panel connected, and basically it looks like we're good to go. Unless I'm forgetting something, we've got everything set up. Now we can plug in the power, plug it in, put our installation CD in this drive up here, whether it's Windows 8, Windows 7, Linux, whatever you want to run, and then boot it up for the first time. It should go ahead and install that hard drive. For me, in this case, I've already got that installed. So that is how you put together a PC. Yes. How'd you like it, guys? Let me know. Well, guys, I thought I'd show you that. Well, there it is. Up and running, my computer. Got this nice kind of color glow effect going with red LEDs indicating access to the hard drive. And there it is with a nice reflection from my window on it. But that PC is now up and running. I ended up swapping out the power supply because it just didn't have all the connections that I wanted, and now it is good to go. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Anyone else who knows the answer, please answer them because I don't have time to answer everybody's questions. But that, guys, is a computer put together, and I only probably cut out about, I'd say 10 to 15 minutes, and most of that was putting in screws pretty much. So you see, it's not that hard. There's plenty of people who've done much better computer builds than I have. I just wanted to throw one together real quick for you, and it was sort of a haphazard because it was a Frankenstein of pieces from Dell and pieces that I had left over, not exactly what you would get. Alright guys, once the PC is all together, you'll pop in a Windows installation disk and boot it up. You may have to adjust the BIOS, but probably not. And trust me, it's not that scary a thing. Installing Windows is easy, and it's about as simple as generally clicking the next button. I actually recommend Windows 8 if you can get it, otherwise go with Windows 7. They're both just fine. You could, of course, try to install a Hackintosh or do Linux, but again, if this is a gaming PC, you really need to go with Windows as of the upload of this video. Now Steam, or Valve rather, is coming out with the Steam OS, which I think is a very promising move towards Linux gaming, but we'll see how that goes. When you first boot your PC up, it'll go through some Windows updates. It'll automatically install a graphics driver and stuff like that as long as you're connected to the internet. You can download a utility like the NVIDIA GeForce Experience app, which checks for updated drivers and automatically installs them for you, and I recommend that you do that. Alright guys, if you followed the build tutorial and you got a system up and running and you're looking at a nice gaming PC, please let us know, leave your comments below, and as always, I will see you in the next one for Becoming a PC Gamer Part 4. That's right guys, it is not over.